I thought my father's retirement party would be the night he finally saw me as more than the daughter who chose wrong. But 3 days before the event, standing outside his office at the firm, holding a leather portfolio of architectural renderings I'd spent 8 months perfecting, I heard my name spoken with a tone that made my blood freeze. Naomi is a liability. This party is where we make that clear to everyone. I stopped breathing. My father's voice carried through the half-open door, calm and measured, like he was discussing quarterly projections. My older brother, Derek, laughed softly. "She'll probably cry. You know how she gets." "Good," my mother said, her voice smooth as glass. "Maybe embarrassment will finally push her towards something respectable." Every word landed like a fist to my chest. I stood there, frozen in the hallway of Hammond and Associates Architecture, the firm my family had built over 3 generations, listening to them plan my destruction. My sister Caroline chimed in. "I printed comparison charts. Naomi's freelance income versus what she could make as a junior partner here. The numbers don't lie." Numbers. They had charts. This wasn't anger or disappointment. This was a coordinated attack. "During the toast," my father continued, "I'll mention how concerned we are about Naomi's choices. I'll frame it as loving worry. Then Derek will share the financial analysis. By the time we're done, everyone in that room will understand why we can't trust her with any real responsibility." My vision blurred. The portfolio slipped from my hands, hitting the marble floor with a sound that should have given me away. But they didn't hear it. They were too busy laughing. I ran. Down the glass-walled corridor, past the conference rooms filled with blueprints and scale models, past the receptionist who called my name. I didn't stop until I was in my car, hands shaking so violently I couldn't fit the key into the ignition. That night, my phone rang. My mother's voice, sharp with irritation. "Where are you? We're finalizing seating arrangements." I stared at the rain streaking down my windshield and whispered, "Did you finalize the humiliation too?" The silence that followed told me everything. Growing up as a Hammond in Portland meant carrying a legacy that weighed more than stone. My family didn't just design buildings. They shaped skylines, won international awards, set architectural standards that other firms studied. My father, Thomas Hammond, had transformed the firm from a regional practice into a national powerhouse. My mother, Diane, managed operations with military precision. Derek, my older brother, was already a partner at 32. Caroline, my younger sister, had just been promoted to lead designer. And then there was me. Naomi Hammond, the daughter who walked away from a guaranteed partnership to start a sustainable architecture practice focused on affordable housing. In my family's eyes, I'd traded a throne for a folding chair. Still, some part of me believed this retirement party would be different. My father was stepping down after 40 years. Surely this milestone would soften him. Surely he'd see that my work mattered, even if it didn't make headlines. I'd spent months designing a gift, a detailed rendering of our family's first project, the small community center my grandfather built in 1965. I'd researched the original plans, interviewed people who remembered its construction, even tracked down photographs from the dedication ceremony. It was a love letter in blueprint form, a reminder that our family's legacy started with serving communities, not just collecting accolades. I arrived at the firm's headquarters early, hoping to help with setup. The building was my father's masterpiece. 30 stories of steel and glass, an architectural statement that announced Hammond ambition to everyone who passed. Inside, the lobby had been transformed. White orchids, champagne fountains, a string quartet tuning their instruments. Everything gleamed with expensive perfection. I found my mother in the main conference room, reviewing seating charts with an event coordinator. "Mom, I'm here," I said, setting down my bag. She glanced up briefly. Good. Don't touch anything. The caterers know what they're doing. I brought the gift I made for Dad, I offered. I thought maybe I could. Not now, Naomi. We're busy. The dismissal was so casual, it almost didn't hurt. Almost. I carried my portfolio toward the elevators, planning to leave it in my father's office. But as I passed the executive wing, I heard voices. My name, spoken low and urgent. I moved closer without thinking. That single step changed everything. The door to my father's office was slightly ajar. Through the gap, I could see them gathered around his desk. My father, my mother, Derek, and Caroline. All of them perfectly composed, like they were in a strategy meeting. Which I realized with creeping horror. They were. Naomi needs to understand her place, my father said, his tone matter-of-fact. This party is the perfect opportunity. My chest tightened. Derek leaned forward. She'll panic when she realizes everyone's watching. But honestly, maybe that's what she needs. Panic. The word hit me like cold water. My mother sighed, the sound theatrical and rehearsed. Her little housing project is embarrassing. She makes what, $60,000 a year? It's beneath us. I looked up median salaries for small firm architects. Caroline added. She should be grateful we're even offering her a way out. A way out, as if my career was a trap I'd stumbled into. Derek tapped a laptop screen. I made a presentation. Income comparison, projected earnings if she joined the firm, even a timeline showing how far behind her peers she's fallen. My knees went weak. They had made a PowerPoint. They were going to humiliate me with graphs and spreadsheets in front of 200 guests. When she sees the numbers on the screen, my father said almost cheerfully, she won't be able to deny reality. My mother's voice turned cold. And once she finally admits this affordable housing fantasy is over, we'll announce her new position here. Junior associate. Nothing glamorous. Something controlled. Controlled? Of course. Caroline added. We should also mention the storage issue. She still has boxes in the archive room. We need that space. I had them moved to a storage unit this morning. My stomach dropped. They'd gone through my things. Without asking. Without even telling me. Better to clear it out before the party, my father agreed. She'll be too distracted to notice. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to steady my breathing. My childhood sketches were in those boxes. Models I'd built in high school. The first blueprints I'd ever drafted, they'd treated them like garbage. Then my mother said something that burned itself into my memory. Her affordable housing obsession is like a child's lemonade stand. Cute for a summer, but ridiculous to take seriously as an adult. They laughed, all of them. Even Derek, who used to stay up late helping me build balsa wood structures when we were kids. My father's voice cut through the laughter. This party is where Naomi learns who she really is. Something inside me whispered back. No, this is where I learn who you are. I stepped away from the door. My hands numb, my heart pounding so hard, I thought it might crack my ribs. I wasn't their daughter anymore. I was a problem to be solved, a reputation to be managed, a mistake to be corrected. I turned and walked toward the elevator, my footsteps silent on the polished floor. By the time I reached the parking garage, I couldn't feel my legs. I don't remember the drive home. One moment, I was leaving the firm's underground parking, and the next, I was sitting in my apartment, staring at the wall, my breath coming in short, painful gasps. The rain had started again, drumming against the windows like accusations. They planned it. Every word, every slide, every moment of my humiliation, choreographed like a performance. I sat on the floor of my living room, back against the couch, and finally let myself fall apart. The tears came hard and ugly, the kind that make your chest heave, the kind that feel like they're tearing something loose inside you. I pulled my knees to my chest and pressed my forehead against them, trying to make myself smaller, trying to disappear. How could they? My phone buzzed, my mother calling. I didn't answer. After the fourth missed call, I did the only thing I could think of. I called Jordan, my best friend, and former classmate from architecture school. She answered immediately. Naomi, what's wrong? I need to tell you something. I managed, my voice breaking. And I need you to just listen. Okay, I'm here. So I told her, every word I'd overheard, every plan they'd made to destroy me in front of everyone I'd ever known professionally. Every cruel joke, every prepared slide, every calculated moment. When I finished, Jordan was silent for a long time. Those absolute bastards, she finally said, her voice shaking with anger. Naomi, listen to me. You are one of the most talented architects I know. Your housing project in Gresham won a sustainability award last year. You're booked solid for the next 8 months. You're not failing. You're succeeding in a way they're too arrogant to recognize. What if they're right? I whispered. What if I'm just pretending? Pretending? Jordan's voice rose. You turned down a contract with a luxury developer last month because it didn't align with your values. You have a waiting list of community organizations who want to work with you. That's not pretending. That's integrity. Her words cut through the fog. Naomi, you're not the embarrassment. They are. And they know it. That's why they're trying to break you. I exhaled shakily, something loosening in my chest. What do I do? I asked. You don't go to that party, Jordan said firmly, and you don't let them make you feel small ever again. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. Okay. Good. Now get some sleep. Tomorrow we're going to figure out your next move. I hung up and sat in the dark, rain still falling outside. For the first time since leaving the firm, I felt something other than pain. I felt the faint, fragile beginning of clarity. The next morning, I woke up with a decision already forming. I wasn't going to the party. I wasn't going to stand in front of 200 people while my family dissected my life with pie charts and condescension. I wasn't going to give them that power. But I also wasn't going to disappear quietly. I sat at my kitchen table with a notebook and wrote down everything I needed to do. Not in anger, not in revenge, just in truth. What I will do next. 1. I will not attend the retirement party. No explanation, no apology. Let them feel my absence the way I've felt their contempt. 2. I will send a professional message to my father, congratulating him on his retirement. Polite, distant, final. 3. I will retrieve my belongings from the storage unit they moved without permission. I'll document everything. 4. I will spend that weekend doing something that actually matters to me, with people who see my worth. 5. I will set boundaries. If my family contacts me, I'll respond on my terms. Respectful, honest, or not at all. 6. I will consult a lawyer about the property they removed from the firm without notifying me. When I finished, I stared at the list. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't vengeful. It was just mine. Then I called an old mentor, Patricia Chen, a lawyer who specialized in family business disputes. She answered on the second ring. Naomi, it's been too long. I need advice, I said. My family removed personal property from their office without telling me. Do I have any recourse? Patricia's tone sharpened. Did you store items there with permission? Did they have sentimental or monetary value? Yes to both. I said. Childhood work, original designs, some irreplaceable. Send a formal letter immediately, she said. State that you did not abandon the property and intend to retrieve it. If anything is missing or damaged, you'll have grounds for a claim. I took notes quickly. Thank you, Patricia. Naomi, she added gently. Family like this, boundaries aren't cruelty, they're survival. After hanging up, I drafted the letter. I kept it professional, unemotional, clear. I printed it, signed it, and sent it certified mail. The moment I dropped it in the mailbox, I felt something shift. This wasn't about winning. It was about refusing to lose myself. That afternoon, Jordan showed up at my apartment with coffee and a plan. Okay, she said, spreading a map across my kitchen counter. You're not spending this weekend wallowing. We're going to the coast. There's a tiny eco-village near Cannon Beach that just hired you for a consultation, remember? Let's go early. Make it a trip. I hesitated. I don't know if I'm up for... You're up for it, Jordan said firmly. Because sitting here thinking about them is exactly what they want. Let's go do the work that actually matters. She was right. So I packed a bag, loaded my drafting supplies into the car, and drove west with Jordan beside me, the city shrinking in the rearview mirror. By the time we reached the coast, the sun was setting, painting the ocean in shades of gold and violet. The eco-village was small, just 12 units built with reclaimed materials, solar panels gleaming on every roof. The project manager, a woman named Astrid, greeted us warmly. Naomi, I'm so glad you could come early. We've been looking at your portfolio all week. The community center you designed in Gresham is exactly the kind of work we want here. I felt something unfamiliar. Pride, uncomplicated and real. That night, Jordan and I sat on the beach, listening to the waves crash against the rocks. You know, Jordan said quietly, your family's going to realize you're not there, and they're going to call. I know, I said. What are you going to say? I thought about it for a long time, watching the stars appear one by one. The truth, I finally said, that I heard everything, and I'm done pretending it didn't happen. Jordan nodded. Good. We sat in comfortable silence, the ocean endless and indifferent and somehow comforting. For the first time in days, I didn't feel like I was drowning. The night of the retirement party, I turned off my phone. Jordan and I were sitting in a small coffee shop in Cannon Beach, reviewing sketches for the Eco-Village project. Outside, rain pattered against the windows, turning the streetlights into soft halos. I knew exactly what was happening 200 miles away. The string quartet would be playing. The champagne would be flowing. My father would be standing at the podium, delivering his carefully crafted speech. And at some point, someone would notice I wasn't there. Around 8 p.m., I turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls, 12 voicemails, 23 text messages. I didn't listen to the voicemails. I already knew what they'd say. But I read the texts, one by one, watching the narrative shift in real time. Derek, 6:47 p.m. Where are you? Party's starting soon. Caroline, 7:02 p.m. Naomi, seriously, Dad's asking for you. My mother, 7:18 p.m. This is unacceptable. Call me immediately. Derek, 7:34 p.m. People are noticing you're not here. This is embarrassing. Embarrassing. The word almost made me laugh. Then, at 7:56 p.m., my father's message. Your absence is noted. We'll discuss this later. I stared at the screen, my heart steady. Jordan glanced over. You okay? Yeah, I said, and I meant it. I typed a single message to my father. I won't be attending. I overheard your conversation 3 days ago. I know what you planned. I'm done being your project to fix. I wish you well in your retirement. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. 3 minutes later, My phone rang. My father. I let it ring. Then my mother. Then Derek. Then Caroline. I turned the phone face down and went back to my sketches. Jordan raised her coffee cup. To choosing yourself. I clinked my cup against hers. To choosing myself. The next morning, I woke to a voicemail from my uncle, Richard, my father's younger brother. Naomi. His voice was quiet, almost sad. I heard what happened at the party. Your father made some remarks about your absence. I want you to know I don't agree with how they've treated you. Your work matters. I'm proud of you. Call me when you're ready. I played it twice. Something warm spreading through my chest. Then another voicemail. My cousin, Natalie. Hey, Naomi. Mom told me what your dad said at the party, and honestly, it was awful. I'm sorry. Also, I looked up your housing project, and it's incredible. Why didn't you ever tell us about it? Because no one ever asked, I thought. But I didn't say that. I just saved the message. Over the next few days, more messages trickled in, not from my immediate family, but from the extended relatives who'd been at the party, who'd heard my father's carefully worded concern and read between the lines. Some were supportive. Some were curious. A few were quietly apologetic. And slowly, I realized something. My absence had said more than any defense I could have made. 2 weeks later, I drove back to Portland to retrieve my belongings from the storage unit. I brought Jordan with me, just in case. The unit was in an industrial complex south of the river, the kind of place that smelled like dust and motor oil. Inside, my boxes were stacked haphazardly, some torn, some water-damaged. I opened the first one and found my childhood sketches, crumpled and creased. My throat tightened. Jordan put a hand on my shoulder. We'll save what we can. We spent 3 hours carefully sorting through everything. Some things were ruined, but most were salvageable. My early blueprints, my model buildings, even the scale replica of my grandfather's first project. I held that model in my hands, remembering the hours I'd spent building it, the pride I'd felt when my grandfather said it was perfect. They didn't deserve to keep this, I said quietly. No, Jordan agreed. They didn't. I loaded everything into my car, piece by piece, reclaiming the parts of myself they'd tried to erase. When I got home, I set up a shelf in my studio. Old work beside new work. Past and future, side by side. That night, I got an email from Astrid at the Eco Village. Subject: Contract approved. Naomi, the board unanimously approved your design proposal. We'd love to move forward. This is going to be something special. I read it 3 times before it sank in. This was real. This was mine. I texted Jordan. We got the Eco Village contract. Jordan. Hell yes. Celebratory dinner tomorrow. My treat. I smiled. The kind of smile that felt unfamiliar because it was entirely my own. 6 weeks after the retirement party, I stood in my new studio space, a converted warehouse in southeast Portland with huge windows and exposed brick walls. Sunlight poured through the glass, illuminating drafting tables, material samples, and a wall covered in project photos. The Gresham Community Center, the Eco Village renderings, a new affordable housing complex I'd just been commissioned to design. My practice wasn't a side project anymore. It was a business. I'd hired an assistant, Emma, a recent graduate with a passion for sustainable design. She was setting up our shared workspace, humming along to music, completely at ease. For the first time in my life, I wasn't working alone. My phone buzzed. A message from Derek. Derek, I owe you an apology. What we planned was wrong. I was wrong. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a long time. Finally, I typed back, maybe, when I'm ready, but thank you. A boundary. Not forgiveness yet, but an opening, on my terms. Another message came in, this time from my Uncle Richard. Richard. Saw the article about your eco-village project in Architecture Northwest. Your grandfather would be so proud. I read it twice, my eyes stinging. I'd spent so long trying to earn my father's pride that I'd forgotten other people's pride mattered too. People who actually saw me. That afternoon, I got a call from a journalist. Ms. Hammond, I'm writing a feature on emerging architects working in affordable housing. Your name keeps coming up. Would you be willing to be interviewed? I hesitated. I'm not sure I'm the right person. You designed 3 award-winning community projects in 2 years. She interrupted. You're exactly the right person. I exhaled slowly. Okay, yes. I'd be honored. After we hung up, I sat at my desk, staring at the sketches pinned to the wall. This was success. Not the kind my family measured, not prestige or profit margins, but the kind that let me sleep at night. The kind built on integrity. A week later, my father sent an email. Subject: Follow-up Naomi. Your absence at the party was noted by several important contacts. It reflected poorly on the family. I expect a phone call to discuss your future involvement with Hammond and Associates. I read it once. Then I archived it without responding. Some conversations weren't worth having. That weekend, Jordan and I drove back to the coast. The eco-village groundbreaking was scheduled for the following month, and I wanted to walk the site one more time. We stood on the bluff overlooking the ocean, wind whipping around us, the sky massive and open. You did it, Jordan said. You built something real. I nodded. Yeah, I did. She grinned. So what's next? I thought about the new housing project, the interview, the quiet growing respect I was earning in my field. More of this, I said. Just more. Jordan clapped me on the shoulder. Good answer. We stood there for a while, watching the waves crash against the rocks, the horizon endless and full of possibility. I thought about the person I'd been 6 weeks ago. Desperate for approval, willing to shrink myself to fit into a space that was never meant for me. And I thought about who I was now. Clearer, steadier, mine. The wind picked up, carrying the salt smell of the ocean. I didn't need my family's retirement party to define me. I didn't need their charts or their pity or their controlled positions. I needed this, my work, my integrity, my chosen people. And for the first time in my life, that was enough. 3 months later, I received an invitation in the mail. Thick cardstock, embossed lettering. The Architectural Institute of Oregon requests the honor of your presence at the annual Emerging Designers Gala. My name was listed among the honorees. I held the invitation for a long time, something settling in my chest. This wasn't my family's world. It was mine. I texted Jordan. I'm being honored at the AIO Gala. Wanna come? Jordan. Absolutely. I'll rent a dress. The night of the gala, I stood on stage while they read my bio. Projects completed, awards won, communities served. From the audience, I saw Jordan cheering, Emma clapping, Uncle Richard smiling, Natalie recording on her phone. My immediate family wasn't there. I didn't expect them to be. But their absence didn't hurt anymore. It was just a fact, like the color of the sky. When I accepted the award, I didn't thank my family. I thanked the communities who trusted me, the collaborators who believed in the work, the people who saw me when I couldn't see myself. Afterward, Uncle Richard pulled me aside. Your grandfather would be so proud, he said, his voice thick. He always said the best buildings serve people, not egos. I smiled. I remember. He squeezed my shoulder. You're doing it right, Naomi. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. That night, driving home through the rain-soaked streets, I thought about the retirement party I'd never attended, the humiliation I'd never endured, the person I'd refused to become. And I realized something I'd been too hurt to see before. They didn't break me that night. They freed me. Because the moment I stopped needing their approval was the moment I became myself. I pulled into my parking spot, turned off the engine, and sat in the quiet. The city glittered beyond my windshield, full of buildings I hadn't designed yet, communities I hadn't served yet, work I hadn't imagined yet. And I was ready. Not because I'd proven them wrong, but because I'd finally proven something to myself. I was enough. I had always been enough. And I didn't need their party to know it. Thank you for watching.